What's up, everyone? Monday night, February 3rd, 2020. This is the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. And Raw just went off the air. And I tell you, the outcome of the main event was surprising, but maybe not when you kind of think about Saudi Arabia and Brock Lesnar. But we'll talk about that. I am Don, Tony, as always, and joined along with me, as always, is
Kev Castle. What's up, DT?
What's going on? You a little surprised we got Ricochet to close out, Raw tonight and facing Brock Lesnar in Saudi Arabia, or do you think that's probably the most apropos way to go for like a 60-second match?
Yeah, I think it's apropos way to go, but I would have thought in Saudi they would have went for a bigger name like Bobby Lashley, but I guess, him tied up with Lana, they didn't want to, cross-promote that angle with involve Lesnar. So Ricochet had that little interaction a couple weeks ago with Lesnar, got his ass handed to him, said he was going to come back at him, and now he's got his opportunity. So, yeah, I was a little surprised they didn't go for a bigger name in Saudi, but, hey, Ricochet gets a shot.
When they announced the three-way earlier today, the Monday Night Messiah, I'm telling you, man, I invite anybody to go back, watch the first 30 minutes of Raw tonight. I'm not kidding. If I would have gotten $1 for every time they said Monday Night Messiah, I could have bought WWE stock with it. I mean, I understand you want to instill that in people's brains, but that doesn't, get me to, feel more of that Seth Rollins is more of a heel. That is annoying. That is nauseating. And that does not lead to me wanting to see anybody beat the crap out of Seth Rollins. That's I just can't keep hearing that over and over again. I mean, that just gives me flashbacks when I was 10 years old and my mom would be like, Anthony, get up. Anthony, get up. Anthony, every minute, Monday Night Messiah, get up. It was annoying, man. But, when I heard about the three-way, I put clips from the movie The Fan, and I was hoping tonight, Saudi Arabia, the Prince, fantasy match, Bobby, hey, Bobby, oh, Bobby. Bobby Lashley gets no love.
No, not at all. You're talking about The Fan, the De Niro one?
Yeah, De Niro and Wesley Snipes. Bobby, Bobby.
Very underrated movie, actually. That's
an awesome movie, man. I mean, unfortunately, I don't like De Niro like I used to for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But that movie was awesome, man. One of my favorite movies, in my top 10 of all time.
Oh, really? Okay, because there was a Fan back in the day with Lauren Bacall, The Fan, late 70s, like a kind of a slasher picture, but nothing to do with The Fan that they did with De Niro and Snipes.
Yeah. What's up, Yippee Bomb? Yippee Bomb Kaye, mother. I can't curse tonight. I'm actually have a challenge this week. And a few important people challenged me. Try to keep the curse words under 5 for each show, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I want to welcome everybody to this show. As you can see tonight, I am representing the Kabuki Warriors. Yes, men could look good wearing Kabuki Warrior shirts. I tell you, I like the colors, man. It really stands out. It's much nicer than what you see online. And Johnny, shout out to you, my friend. One of the biggest Kairi Sane supporters out there. And, anybody that follows me knows that I have gotten on the gravy train with Kairi Sane for quite some time now. And Kev, myself, Mish, we all have showed the love to Asuka. So it's not, fly by night trying to get, tweet bangs. But, just showing a little love to the Kabuki Warriors tonight. And let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Becky Lynch versus Asuka again. Are you feeling what I'm feeling, Kev?
Sick of it?
Let me change my. By the way, I'm sorry to change the subject for a minute. Andre Corbiel, what's up, my brother? Did you get banned from Twitter again? Because I was gonna PM you about a couple of things, and it says account suspended. So what are you doing? Issuing death threats to people? Come on. But let me change my my accent a little bit, Kev. Okay. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? That kind of sound more Japanese, but I got let's see. Quickie Mart, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Becky, Asuka, Saudi Arabia.
So you're going for more of an Indian accent now?
Yeah, I just see I'm not good at accents when I purposely try to do them. Like if I just do it out of nowhere, especially the Vince ones, then they sound pretty good. But I don't know. I mean, it just feels like we just had this whole feud with Asuka and Becky and Kyrie and Becky. And I'm thinking, okay, they broke the barrier with Natty and Lacey Evans, the last show. I have a feeling Becky versus Asuka is going to take place in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, listen, who else can she wrestle? I mean, Asuka's really pulling some serious double duty. Tag team champion, as I've never seen anybody, a tag team title holder, be such a single star at the same time. Not in a long time have I seen something like this.
Yeah, Johnny, I know they announced it for next week.
But Johnny in the
Saudi Arabia is coming up in 2 or 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So I still think we are going to see something with Saudi. I mean, let me say this. If we get no women's match in Saudi Arabia this time around, that is not going to have a good perception, because although let me say it like this, you made history, and they definitely did. And it was beautiful to see, and whoever that dirtbag was that threw the water bottle, and I got into this on Friday a little bit more, that you're going to have to wait a whole generation for Saudi Arabia and some of those countries to really adapt and accept women almost on an equal level. You're going to have your 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old Saudis and, in that region that they're going to, I mean, I hate to say it, but they're going to have to die off and have the young generation that accepts women, that warms up to it, that looks at women and others as their equal. So if we don't have a women's match for the next pay-per-view, there's so many ways you could look at that in a bad way. And you could look at it, well, after what happened with the bottle throwing, even though we made history, the women weren't going to just walk out of the arena halfway through their match. I think we have to have a women's match. I think Becky Lynch should be part of it.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, obviously they got to do something, but it's amazing how much they're leaning on Asuka right now. They're really, like a year ago at this time, she was babe in the woods, and now she's the go-to girl and everything. Tag team, solo. She gets a lot of TV time, deservingly so. But is Kyrie not cleared again to wrestle? Is that why this is going on?
No. She is, able to work again, but I don't know if you could call it treading water lightly, because you can have Asuka and Kyrie Sane come out and cut a promo challenging a team. And then you have a team come out and it could lead like a pull apart or something. And then that, buys like 1 or 2 extra weeks. So it's not like they have to come out and wrestle every single time. I just think that they see that Asuka obviously is one of the more popular stars out there. She is a champion. No matter what happens next week, Asuka is still a champion when everything is said and done. It just goes to show you, the gap between the women wrestlers in the WWE up here and the women wrestlers in the WWE down here. And Dana Brooke could, all she wants, that it's my time, it's my opportunity, it's my time. No. And this is nothing personal, but you don't see any other woman trying to step up. I mean, Ruby Riott tonight, it was awesome to see her back, a little bit of a different look, but you feel like that was done with the sole purpose of fast forwarding, get as quickly away from Lana as possible. And now you're going to have Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott having a little bit of a confrontation. And maybe we get the Viking to try to, smooth things out. And maybe we'll be treated and have the whole Riott Squad beating the crap out of each other.
See, the Riott Squad never got to that level, though. I mean, they had their little fan base, but nothing of real note. They never really got there, even though they were together for almost 2 years. And Ruby's out, it seems like, for almost a year. Has it been a year, DT? A little less, right?
It's been a while,
It's been a while. I mean, she came out, she looked good. You know me, I'm a big Ruby Riott fan. I think she looked great, actually. I like the new neck tattoo she's got. Kind of thought she was going to turn on Liv, but wasn't quite sure. And then sure enough, she did. But you don't
I
think
wrote
DT, she's teaming up with Lana, right? You don't think there's a Lana alliance. It's just a Ruby Liv thing, right?
There could be, but, you know, Lana lost 2 matches in a row. She lost, like, it's not like she lost a match but won the war, you know, and I didn't see any real alliance between Lana and Ruby Riott. I think Ruby Riott was just a way to go for Liv Morgan to go from Lana onto someone else without this storyline going much further. I mean, if you notice for the last couple of weeks, we don't see Lana and Lashley, you know, really interacting with each other like before. The problem that WWE has with that is the storyline is that they're still married. So something with that storyline has to progress. You can't just have it that all of a sudden Lashley comes out for his matches and Lana's not around, or vice versa, this and that. They have to do something with this storyline. I just think, and I've said this last week, with WrestleMania still being 2 months away, they need to milk the next 3 or 4 weeks, and that's going to be in the form of Saudi Arabia, and that's also going to be in the form with some of the matches you're seeing on SmackDown. It's really good to see Naomi back, but, you know, nothing against her. It just feels like her match with Bayley is just filler until they get to the road to WrestleMania, you know? Kev?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. But here's the thing, and I'm sorry to do this to you, Kev. This is more, I don't know if you would call it haters, but I have to share something from last week's edition of Wednesday Night Dynamite. Because last week, all the rumors were on Wednesday last week was that Charlotte was going to be in Orlando last week to challenge Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. And it was funny because I never talked about it. I don't think any of us commented online about it. I didn't hear anything about it, and it didn't happen. I thought it was really hilarious, these websites, you know. Charlotte's in Orlando. She's in Orlando. She's challenging Rhea Ripley tonight. Nah, it didn't happen. So when I did Wednesday Night Dynamite last week, I gave my idea as far as how you get to Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. You'll only be able to hear it, but everybody online, they'll be tortured for about 90 seconds because they'll actually see 2 Don Tonys on the screen. And I say that with sincerity. WWE has instilled in our brain for years and years and years that the winner of the Royal Rumble faces either the Universal Champion or the WWE Champion. Plain and simple. Plain simple. So now, Drew McIntyre, every single person listening, when they announced that Drew McIntyre was going to make his decision, now we all figured it would be Brock Lesnar because of what happened at the Royal Rumble. But we all thought that either he's going to choose Lesnar or The Fiend. Plain and simple. I don't think anybody out there even thought about Adam Cole's name on Monday. So what I would do is I would postpone. I would tease Charlotte's decision for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and give the impression that she doesn't know if she's going to challenge Bayley or if she's going to challenge Becky. Just leave it at that. Then when they announce 2 weeks from now, this is just my idea. All right, this is just my idea. And I know this was not reported because this is an idea. This is not news. What I would do is wait about 2 weeks, maybe 3, and they announce Charlotte has made her decision of who she's going to face at WrestleMania. She comes out on Raw. She gets in the ring. She cuts her promo, you know, hyping it up, getting everybody anticipating who she's going to choose. And right before she chooses it, Rhea Ripley's music hits. Rhea Ripley comes out, starts talking about how she's the NXT Women's Champion, or NXT Champion if people want to play semantics, and that she is the most dominant woman, this and that. This leads to confrontation, pull apart, people breaking it up. Fans will chant, "This is awesome." Wednesday. You have Charlotte trying to rip the hair out of Rhea Ripley, which she's going to have a hard time doing so, and Rhea Ripley pulling on Charlotte, this and that, and then Charlotte challenges Rhea Ripley because of that confrontation. That's what I would do, because nobody would expect Rhea Ripley to be the one, and that's how you hype it up. That Rhea Ripley feels disrespected because all Charlotte talked about for 2 weeks was Becky or Bayley, Becky or Bayley, Bayley or Becky. Well, what about Rhea? That's what I would have done. They could. I don't know. What did you think? What did you think about that tonight with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte on Raw?
Well, I kind of expected it. I mean, to a degree. I wasn't sure how many people were able to make it, because we didn't really talk about the big snowstorm and a pretty impressive turnout for what went on in Iowa today. Because there was even, the scuttlebutt all day. It was if they were going to close the roads, the governor was going to shut it down. So I was like, wow, imagine that. Like Raw couldn't be Raw tonight. So I wasn't sure who made it to the arena, because some people might have been able to travel. But then when the music hit, I'm like, okay, they're going with this angle. She came out, got a decent pop. The crowd was pretty lively tonight. It was the crowd enjoyed themselves, especially for an inclement situation outside. She got a decent reaction. Then Charlotte came out, and I didn't realize how tall she is. She's actually as big as Charlotte. So they size up really well, DT. But, it was one of those things where Charlotte kind of didn't do anything, and it was all about Rhea kind of, challenging her. And then, the interaction was okay. I thought Charlotte, then she turned around and all she said was woo in the microphone. She didn't say anything else and then walked out. So it wasn't much of an interaction. But now, of course, Charlotte will go to her turf on Wednesday, supposedly, as they say. But tonight's interaction was okay. I mean, it was just sizing each other up. And, this is a good matchup. I don't want to see Charlotte against anybody else but Rhea at WrestleMania, to be honest with you.
I think this opens up that strong possibility of Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, but I got news for you. Wouldn't it be something if Asuka won that belt and they could possibly have like Asuka versus Io Shirai versus Kairi Sane at Mania? I think that would be a nice match for not the overall WWE universe, but I think it would give a nice rub to Io Shirai. Asuka and Kairi Sane, I've said it before, I'd like to see them have a match against each other here and there. The only thing is they still have the tag belts, and I don't know. I'm not sold on the Kabuki Warriors keeping those tag belts all the way into WrestleMania. I just feel like hyping up Becky versus Asuka next week after we've seen it repeatedly, that there's got to be some type of interference. There's got to be some schmaz, and maybe it doesn't lead to Saudi Arabia, but there's got to be some additional involvement in there, because just booking that next week on Raw, I mean, to me, that's almost the equivalent of Baron Corbin facing Roman Reigns again next week on Smackdown. I think people thought, Becky Lynch just had this storyline that she needed to prove to herself that she could do blah, 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 blah. And she defeats Asuka at the pay-per-view. She does the promo the next day. I realized, I was trying to prove to myself, but I realized that I am the man. And it's like, and now you fight her again. So it kind of feels like this is going to segue into something else. Maybe Shayna Baszler shows up next week.
Shayna Baszler, still you think any snowball's chance in hell, no pun intended, that Ronda Rousey plays into this thing?
The closer we get to it, the more and more it seems like Ronda Rousey might, if she's going to do anything, it might be the night after WrestleMania.
Now, DT, if they went to Saudi, could they allow, because of the magnitude of her star power, Ronda in a match in Saudi?
I think that would be great. I just don't think WWE would use that return by having it in Saudi Arabia, because, look, I was talking about this Friday a little bit more, something that I know a lot of people out there still feel, and I know you feel this way, and I feel this way as well. When Shawn Michaels retired, after a couple of years, everybody kept chanting one more match, one more match, one more match. And Shawn Michaels kept saying, no, I'm retired. Once I said I was retired, I'm going to stick that way. And once that changed from one more match to one more match, one more match, one more match, he's like, oh, okay. I mean, again, I don't blame him, because he got a really huge payday, takes care of his family, increases that nest egg for his next generation. I would have done the very same thing. But there are a lot of fans out there that are very bitter that the Saudi money is more important. Look, of course, business is business. That's why we've always not criticized Brock Lesnar's contract, because I've said this 1,000 times before. If you, me, anybody listening, if your employer went to you and said, look, we're going to pay you this kind of money, you only have to come in once a week or once a month. You know, I mean, nobody out there is going to say, no, man, I'm used to working every single day. You can pay me that, but I got to go to work every single day. No, you're going to take that schedule. But when you see wrestlers who are taken, case in point, Goldberg. It's cool to see Goldberg back. This Friday on Smackdown, he's making his announcement who he's going to fight in Saudi Arabia. But the first reaction I saw online is, mother Saudis. You know, mother freaking Saudis. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to curse tonight, everybody, but, you know, those damn Saudis. You know, we can't get Goldberg, you know, any other way but Saudi Arabia. Me personally, you and I watch this on the WWE Network. So what if it's in Saudi Arabia or in Texas? We're not going to either one of them live and in person. So it's Saudi Arabia. It's better than nothing. You know, but my question to you is, who do you think Goldberg might face at Saudi Arabia?
I was thinking about it, and I'm going to go with Baron Corbin.
Awesome. See, you're not on video, but I want you to watch this back because as I asked you the question, I didn't say it out loud, but I was showing everybody who my pick was. Literally at the same time I was saying it, you said nice. Baron Corbin. I want Goldberg to spear that son of a bitch.
Sometimes we think alike.
Right? You know? Corbin seems like the perfect opportunity. You know, 45-second match, maybe a minute. He squashes Corbin. Everybody's happy. Corbin sells for him. Nobody, for the most part, likes Corbin. I think Goldberg versus Corbin is an easy squash.
Definitely. It's the perfect matchup. I can't imagine. Who would be a close second if anybody wants to guess? Who would be a close second, DT, if you could just take a stab at it?
You know, I'm just trying to think of big men right now. Like, it's got to be a heel, and it's got to be somebody that you want to see get their ass kicked for a few seconds. You know, I don't know if a Dolph Ziggler rematch would be appropriate because a lot of people were upset that Dolph lost as quickly as he did, but that was absolutely necessary to right the wrong of what happened to Goldberg with Taker. So whatever the match is, it's got to be, 30 seconds to a minute and done. You look at the roster, it's got to be a SmackDown guy. I don't know if I would want it to be like a Bobby Roode. Bobby! It feels like Corbin's the ideal choice.
Maybe Sheamus, but you wouldn't want to squash Sheamus, right?
Yeah, they're going to milk Sheamus for a while. I don't know why that sounds kind of perverted, but they're going to milk Sheamus for a while. And you may see Sheamus versus Strowman at WrestleMania. I don't know why, but I kind of feel, you remember like a month ago, I said, hey, Antoine Fair, nice that you're there. He thinks it's Roman Reigns. You think Goldberg versus Roman Reigns? Oh, I don't know about that. I don't see that.
I don't see that either.
Yeah, whoever it is has got to be squashed like a grape. And Corbin squashed like a grape is probably a good thing, especially for Saudi Arabia.
Cesaro could be another guy,
That's a good one. That's definitely a good one. But you know what'll happen. If Goldberg squashes Corbin online, everybody will be like, yeah. But if Goldberg squashes Cesaro in 30 seconds, why are you doing to Cesaro? He's a job guy now. Why are you doing that? For Goldberg? For Saudi money? You're gonna ruin it. I don't see that. I think Goldberg versus Corbin is the ideal match to have. I know a lot of people fantasize Undertaker rematch. There was rumors of Sting, in Saudi Arabia. Goldberg's got to just squash an annoying heel and do it quick.
Yeah, Corbin's his man.
He is. I agree. Want to shout out Kay Morgan and William Mallman. They are our newest patrons. Welcome aboard. LR Mania, congrats to you, my friend. He won the Royal Rumble pay-per-view predictions last week. Scored 41 out of 44 points. Very impressive. Jamie Vaquera scored 39, came in second. Now, LR Mania has already claimed his prize wall prize. Jamie has not. Jamie gets a choice of either a video or a T-shirt. And, so Jamie, if you're listening, get in touch with me. Let me know what you want. For those on Patreon with the prize wall, LR Mania chose 5 shirts. So everything that was on the prize wall is still on the prize wall. Also want to give a special happy birthday to 2 very longtime friends of the show, Jashawn Chambers and Jason Allen. And Jason, I don't want to reveal your age. That could be private. But
did they say their age?
I will say that they're both much younger than us.
So is Deshaun and Jason?
Yeah. So happy birthday to both of them. Unfortunately, everybody, especially on YouTube, if you noticed, no intro tonight. I could have played the generic music that I played 2 weeks ago, but I got hit with copyright crap, and I actually got licensing permission to use it, but they're limiting me as far as how many times I use it during the year. And also that birthday thing that I was doing, it's your birthday, blah, blah, blah. Whoever made that is trying to copyright that stuff too. So unfortunately, they spoil the fun a little bit.
Song.
I think you'd rather hear us say happy birthday than some Matarats on YouTube, right?
Speaking of, and happy birthday, I know you shouted out the other day, but happy birthday to Liz as well again. So
to who?
Liz, the ex-girl.
Oh, well, Liz. Okay, cool. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I got to apologize too, because I talked about this Friday, and I don't want anybody to read this the wrong way. I explained that I keep my wall almost to nobody because I don't want to get involved in these shots fired crap. It's better if I don't read anybody's tweets than to read everybody's. I got you and everybody muted on Twitter, so I don't see everybody's posts coming up.
Nice.
And I saw tonight, because I was responding to some Facebook messages and private messages, Mama Scandado, happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, my mom's birthday. That's right, the other day. Mama Scandado's 70-something. We'll just keep it at that.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
happy birthday.
Thank you for saying that. That was nice of you. Thank you.
That's cool. Tonight, we had a little tiny overrun on Raw. Mm-hmm. I got a little news on that. You're not going to read anywhere else. WWE, because Miz and Mrs. is now in their new season, because it's on the USA Network, they are telling WWE no more overruns for NXT. They're telling WWE no more overruns for NXT on Wednesday for now, but in return, you can hear once in a while have some overruns on Monday. That's why if you notice tonight, especially when they were hyping up Miz and Mrs. for the USA Network commercial, they actually went out of their way to say, set your DVRs. So you're not going to set your DVRs and then NXT runs 7 minutes over and you set your DVR to end at 11 p.m. And then meanwhile, it cuts off at 7 minutes early because you got 7 minutes of the NXT main event in there. So Monday, you will see occasionally a little bit extra overrun. You won't see things cut off at the last minute, but in return, Wednesdays right now, no overrun.
Sounds fair enough.
Yeah. So, that's what I heard. I mean, look, obviously, wrestling is not perfect. Sometimes they may go overtime. I just think when you're DVRing things, it's going to stink if you're DVRing a show. I mean, I could see when it's live sports, baseball, football, and it goes overtime or extra innings, and sometimes it's very hard to DVR a show that follows. But with something like this, WWE is going to try their hardest to make sure at 11 o'clock, at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, they're off the air. So Ms. and Mrs. could be on regular schedule.
Does Ms. and Mrs. do that good of ratings that they don't want to upset the foundation?
Their ratings are not bad, but, it's there's so many ways to watch it now. It's on replay repeatedly. I brought this up, especially with AEW in the recent weeks. I can't tell you how many times I've scrolled through Philo or YouTube TV on my TV schedule, and I see AEW Dynamite replay on Saturday, on Sunday. I mean, there are a lot of replays. So, Ms. and Mrs. may not be must-see TV at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday. I think that's why even more they said DVR it. So I think they pretty much expect that that's not must-see at 10 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. So their ratings are a little bit lower than in the past, but when you add up all of the other ways people watch it, they're doing pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah. So, one last note about Saudi Arabia. The stadium that they're booking for the Super Showdown is actually a much smaller stadium, only holds about 22,000. I think that's the right way to go in the first place. Everybody thinks, oh my God, WWE's in a doghouse, their revenue, they're this, they're that, they're this. This is also a Saudi Arabia decision. I mean, it costs Saudi Arabia a lot of money to have a 50,000 seat arena set up for wrestling. So if you're only going to get 15, 20, 25,000 fans, just because they're foreign doesn't mean they're stupid. So it kind of makes sense to put it in a smaller venue. And who knows, maybe the other stadium is booked for that week.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, 22,000 is respectable. No matter
yeah, of course, sure. Absolutely. We'll talk briefly about the WWE stock in a moment, but what did you think about Raw overall tonight? Some of the other matches that went on, AOP and, Buddy Murphy versus Viking Warriors and Viking Raiders or whatever. And
I like the Ray match. I like we can jump around a little bit. I liked Zelina coming out with Garza. I think they match up well. I'm thinking that Garza is going to be the replacement for Andrade. Andrade comes back. Now, listen, they didn't expect Andrade being, suspended for 30 days, but sometimes good things come out of this. I think they want to turn Andrade babyface. This is a good way to do it. Have a jealousy of Garza, who's like a pretty boy like him, a younger guy, with Zelina, have a little jealousy angle and have Zelina manage Garza, who's a better promo at least than to a degree than Andrade. Turn Andrade babyface, because I don't think tonight was about Humberto with Garza. I think that there's a more of an end game there with Andrade turning babyface, because I do believe they want to split up Zelina and Andrade, and I think Zelina matches up good with Garza. I mean, it's a little baby steps. They're brand new to each other, but what do you think about that, DT? What do you think about that? That possibility. Andrade comes back and he's like, "What are you doing with this guy?" and stuff. He's like, "Oh, I'm just helping him out," and then Andrade, there's the worm turns and he becomes a babyface out of that.
Well, about a month or so ago, I said that, and I've been saying this for a long time now, Carrillo's got those heel dimples. And to have a female by his side, I think works better than him being the sympathetic babyface. Right. So I thought, that Zelina Vega and Humberto would possibly align. And he even teased that split with Andrade and Zelina Vega about a month ago.
But what about Garza? Garza in the mix, who killed it on NXT.
Garza,
but is he ready for primetime, Garza?
You know what? Garza, good. Congrats to him again. He recently got engaged, and they covered it online. So I don't know if Zelina Vega is going to be like a love interest of Garza, and that gets Andrade jealous.
Well, a manager, like she's spending time with him, like getting him as an upcomer and stuff. Andrade's old news. This is the new younger guy, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Well, I look at it like this: they had to do something with Zelina Vega for the next month because Andrade's suspended. So this buys a month for Zelina Vega to still be on TV.
All right, so it's a testing pattern. Maybe
I think it's a testing, but I also think that, look, with Andrade out, that's not only a great, Latino star, that's a champion. They needed to replace Andrade with somebody that's a heel and somebody that has that connection with Humberto and Rey Mysterio. Garza didn't have that connection before tonight, but by default, because Rey came to the aid of Humberto. Humberto is Garza's cousin, so that's how you put it together. I think that if there's going to be any split at all, I think it might be more like after Carrillo did what he did to Andrade, like how could Zelina Vega even talk to anybody in Carrillo's family, and let alone bring in his cousin or something like that? I don't know. I think right now this was to fill. Let me say it like this. If Andrade was not suspended, you would not probably have seen Hector Garza tonight.
Right.
But I look, he's got a lot of charisma. He's been great in NXT. His feud with Lio Rush,
Amazing.
wasn't the top feud, but it really set up, great stuff. That guy really gets under your skin. So that guy really could be like that young, Latino heat. I'm not saying on the Eddie Guerrero level, but he could be one of those Latino heats that really pisses you off.
Yeah, maybe he could be the next Eddie Guerrero. Who knows?
And you know what? He talks a little bit of English. Not a little bit of English. He talks pretty good. And, Carrillo, I don't know how good his English is. So he may be what they wanted Carrillo to be, but Carrillo's, maybe there's a language barrier. I mean, look, I've been following Carrillo for a while now, but I don't really check to see his hooked on phonics skills. So, that's why even when I was talking to people earlier about Asuka, I feel in the last 5 to 7 years, the top 2 women in wrestling are Asuka and Charlotte. And the reason why I put Asuka number 2 and Charlotte number 1 is because I live in the United States. I talk English. And the fact that Charlotte is great on the mic and she speaks my language, that puts her on the next level. So you could look at Garza and Carrillo both being talented. Carrillo, I think, is destined to be a nice heel. But if Carrillo can't really speak English, what? It's like he'll never, put it this way, if you look at history or even the last 10, 15 years, you rarely get a wrestler who is a top star that can't speak English. Asuka is one of the rare ones. But if you really look at it, very rarely do you get someone that absolutely has virtually no English skills whatsoever. You could go further.
Yokozuna has a work, even though he could speak English.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. But in the last 10, 15 years especially, you could only go so high. I mean, Nakamura, he talks a little bit of English for sure, but, it's limited still. And that's just WWE, unfortunately. And it's odd because in Japan, you can have American wrestlers go to Japan. I don't think Moxley speaks Japanese. And the stuff that he was doing, over the weekend, even with the press conference, Jericho, I don't think speaks Japanese, although he probably knows some Japanese because of his career. But a lot of American wrestlers have done very, very nicely in Japan without having to speak the language.
It's true. I don't think even Brody and Hansen back in the day, or Terry Gordy spoke Japanese. I think they knew the basics to get around, but I never heard Stan Hansen break out with some Japanese talk.
Yeah.
Trying to think what it's easier, DT, for them to get by over there than it is over here. It's just because the American culture is a lot of chatter and a lot of publicity, so it's more thrust upon them to learn the English language than it is for Americans to go over to Japan and wrestle for there.
Well, I obviously give credit to the Japanese culture because the fans out there, you look at, and I used to bring this up as a great example, you look at when Hogan used to wrestle in Japan. I think Hogan, the only word that he ever knew from Japan at the time was Ichiban,
Ichiban.
And you look at Hogan wrestling in Japan, and it is a lot of years it was more of the gimmick, but even early on in 79, 82, 83, even late 80s when he did some work there as well, he wrestled wonderfully, and the fans connected with it. Some of those Backlund matches. Backlund doesn't speak Japan. You look at some of his old promos, even though he's my top 5 favorite of all time, you wondered if he spoke English too. But going to Japan, it's a whole different animal that if you bust your ass and you show that you have ability, the fans seem to respect you a hell of a lot more over there in the United States. United States, there's so much, even with social media, we could even segue to it. Even with social media, you look good, you get crapped on. You go on a cruise, you get crapped on. You show that you're succeeding in something, you get crapped on. And, actually, you know what? This is totally out of nowhere, and I hope he forgives me for mentioning it so late. But shout out to Mish. I don't know if you saw the photo, but Mish, who now lives on the Northeast, Philadelphia, he went back to Chicago late last week. I thought, all right, maybe he had to pick up the rest of his belongings. I had no idea that not only did he go to the Poppy concert, but he actually was involved beforehand where they did this thing that Poppy died and she was in a casket. And Mish is reading Poppy the last rites.
That's awesome.
Do you see that? I got the picture up going right now. That is so freaking cool. And
the casket, it's great.
I'm not into her music, but I thought that was so cool when I saw that.
He's a huge fan. Yeah, he's a huge fan. I had no idea he was going to do that. I was surprised. I'd seen he was traveling back to Chicago. I didn't know it was anything about that. And then I saw the picture, and I'm like, of course, being in the metal rock community, I know who she is. I know people know her. I'm not really a fan, but I know he's a huge fan. So that was great for him. I guess that was a bucket
so
list
happy
thing
for him.
Yeah, very good.
It's nice, but I'm glad that he got a lot of love, but unfortunately for a lot of people online, when you do good things, you get crapped on. And there's been a lot of controversy over the weekend with Paige. Now, I've already given my 2 cents talking about Triple H's joke from a couple of weeks ago. I thought the joke was stupid because if you just think scientifically, it's impossible for Paige to have children out there that she doesn't know about unless they came out of her uterus. Unless she has male genitalia and male chromosomes that, and she got another woman pregnant. It just doesn't make sense. And like I said before, the people who conducted that interview, they escaped because they all thought what Triple H said was freaking hilarious. That's over and done with. She went on Lillian Garcia's podcast and she talked about how, it opens up old wounds and you got tons of trolls online just trying to find a reason to bring up her naive past when she was young. And she did, obviously, look, what she did, some of it is, young people having fun. Some of it was over the top. The women's NXT title, great example of that. I don't need to go any further. Right. But, Paige is, I think, in a good place right now. Mm-hmm. And especially when you understand going into this that whether she made a lot of stupid mistakes when she was younger, whether you feel that some of the things she did is just absolutely terrible, when you hear that someone is almost pushed to the level of suicide, you unless you're inside her brain, you don't know if she's making it up or you don't know if she's 150% serious. So I always prefer to take the serious route because I would rather think that someone is being serious and you find out they're lying than act like someone is just BSing you and then they kill themselves. You know what I mean? That's a guilt that I never want to have. So she's been in a really dark place that a lot of us never have been. And sure, she made her bed. She lived in it. But you see what happens on social media. You saw what happened with Naomi last week in that Brian and Vinny show, which I talked about on Friday. But, for those that don't know, Paige went on Instagram and she posted a photo of herself, and she looks incredible. I mean, and I've talked about this. I put a photo up, I think last week, that if anybody out there thinks that she's ugly, you either just desperately trying to bang her or you're just absolutely jealous at her beauty and, you're probably just an absolute miserable troll. So she posts this photo and, as people could see online, some website, some Twitter account posted and says, is it me or does it look like somebody got some work done? Now, if you meant that as a compliment and you're going to post emojis, you probably would have posted emojis that look like hubba hubba. Did she get some work done? Oh my God, she looks incredible. You know what I mean? But instead they put that emoji like, did she get work done? And that's a website that's notorious of clickbaiting, trying to get people. Look, Vince McMahon likely to lose $375 million with the XFL. Wall Street refuses to accept Stephanie and Triple H as owners when Vince died. They're just constant clickbait over and over and over again. So she posts that, and right away the trolls come out to play. So you have Paige's mother coming out, and she's confronting a lot of these trolls, and she's trying to explain to some of these trolls, look, my daughter was 18 years old when she went to WWE. She's been to hell and back. She's defending her daughter, you know, and for people out there to just jump on her and, oh, she got plastic surgery. Who are you to say what someone should do or not do? Something tells me that everybody out there that was giving a hard time or making fun of her getting plastic surgery or boob job or anything else, I guarantee there's a lot of other people in the entertainment world or the sports world that had some work done, you know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you out there that, you know, just absolutely adore The Rock. You know, The Rock has had plastic surgery done. He's had things done, didn't he? Back in the day, didn't he get like his chest done or so? Didn't he get a boob job because his boobs were like a little bit off? Wasn't that the rumor back then? I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, what do they call it? The gyno something?
Yeah, it's a gyno.
Like,
blah, blah, blah.
Like they call it. I mean, the slang term is bitch tit.
Yeah,
and I think it happens to a lot of bodybuilders and stuff. And Rock got it done, and you could see a lot of the older wrestlers have it now, but a lot of wrestlers got it taken care of when they saw it was starting to happen. There's a terminology for it, medical term, but it happens to a lot of people. And again, I don't remember DT, and of course I know why, because obviously the culture we live in today, when wrestling fans were always inclusive and it was like very tribal, and we all kind of looked out for each other, and we were all kind of wrestling, yeah, my favorite. Everyone's so like shaming everybody all the time about everything. It's ridiculous. When did it become like this? It's
been there for a while.
It's getting ridiculous though. But even beautiful people are worried. Even beautiful people are feeling ugly. I mean, is it everyone's? I never in my life woke up one day and said, yeah, I want to make somebody feel bad.
Here's the thing.
I don't get that shit at all.
Here's the thing, and I posted this online also. You know, all Paige's mother is doing is trying to defend her daughter that she loves.
Yeah, I read the tweets, and her brother Roy chimed in too.
Yeah, and she's getting responses. People calling her family racist and stuff like that. This is how I look at it. There have been trolls for 20 years. I'm not trying to compare me to anybody else like that, but the message boards back in the day, the old Facebook page, the shit that was photoshopped with me and my family, and, you know, just the absolute disgusting stuff. Yeah, there's been trolls since the internet was born. The difference now is number one, you have the Me Too movement and, you know, the awareness to abuse. You have a lot of people who will, you know, fight, you know, for respect, and, you know, just nobody should be treated that way, and bullying and all these bullying campaigns. Don't be a bully, be a stirrer, as James would say. And what happens is people are very hypocritical. They'll make fun of this group of people going to a pro wrestling event or something like that. But then when it's a woman or it's someone else, you know, that's so wrong. A lot of people are very hypocritical. And I think there is a ton of jealous people out there. I mean, this is not the first time Paige had some work done. No. So if you want to just compliment her, just compliment her. But the idea of posting it and trying to look, you're not sure if it's trolling or this and that, and people throw social media. And I brought this up, and that's why I was so, you know, I felt bad for him, but I was so like interested. When Mauro Ranallo did that interview for TSN last week, and he said that he will never go back to social media because social media is a cancer because of what it's doing to people. And it's just an epidemic, and this mob mentality is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And social media is filled with hypocrites. You got people that will defend this person and say this and that, but yet they'll make fun of a different group of people. And the one thing that I feel is different now in the last couple of years than before is the people who are being insulted are now speaking out. Because 10, 15, 20 years ago, 5, 7 years ago, you said some horrible stuff online, you know, you might get blocked. Somebody might report you, but everybody would ignore you. Now, those famous people are speaking out. How dare you say this? How you dare you? And this might also, and I'm not trying to criticize those people, but this might be the result of this generation that's been built for the last 20 plus years, that everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy, nobody could fall flat on their face, somebody's got to always be there with a pillow. You know, the idea of sticks and stones may break my bones is no longer allowed, because that's abuse. You know, that's you know what I mean? So there's a whole generation that just feels if they don't get, because they've been brought up, that everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets this, everybody gets that. You can't, you know, everybody's there to pick you up. You know, and now as these people get older, a lot of them can't handle criticism. A lot of them can't handle trolling. And instead of just ignoring these fools and just writing them off, they respond. And then you get these other trolls. That's the mob mentality. They all gang up and they all throw this stuff. Look what happened with Rush Limbaugh. I'm not a big fan of Rush Limbaugh, although I have one of his shirts, and I'll wear it soon because of what happened with his diagnosis. He got diagnosed with advanced lung cancer.
Yeah, I heard about that.
All right? Nobody's perfect out there. Nobody, you know, can make the claim that they've never said some things that they've regretted in their lifetime. But the one thing I kept seeing all over tonight is this. People that insist that we got to be better than that we can't be like Trump, that we have to show love. We have to stop bullying people. We have to stop trolling people. We have to start abusing people. We have to stop putting people down. And then
wishing bad health and death on people over
those same people.
Difference of a fucking opinion. You wish death on somebody?
They're wishing death on Rush Limbaugh for what he said about Michael J. Fox. And look, if that's how you feel, don't turn around 5 minutes before and say, we can't be like Rush or we can't be like Trump. We have to be better and bigger and show that, you know, set an example. But yet the first minute you can get to, that's your revenge. Social media is a revenge tool. That's what happened with Tessa Blanchard. I don't know what really happened. I tend to believe La Rosa Negra, you know, whether she might have misunderstood what Tessa said or not, I have no idea.
We don't know.
But if Tessa said that, that's wrong and disgusting, and hopefully she learned and grew, not just, you know, grew because she can't get, you know, she'll lose opportunity. You got to feel it inside that you don't want to do that again. But you saw that there's some women in the pro wrestling world that absolutely despise Tessa Blanchard. And you almost feel like they are hoping to God that there is some other minority out there that has some type of proof that Tessa Blanchard called her a derogatory word, and they'll use that as a revenge tool to finally get back at Tessa. Fuck you. I didn't want to curse tonight, but that's what happens. Social media is a revenge tool. When things happen to people like Rush Limbaugh, Tessa Blanchard, and I don't, look, what Rush said is disgusting. If Tessa said that, that's disgusting too. All right? I believe in growing and redemption and everything like that. But when something bad happens to someone, that's when you know the true, genuine people out there, and the people out there are just insecure trolls that need mob mentality to feel like they're still relevant on this earth. And the minute something goes wrong, you know, you see. If you're a good person and you really feel that everybody needs to respect each other more and everybody needs to care about each other more, and not so much of the bullying and not so much on this, then that has to apply to people you don't like too.
True.
You know, and that's the problem. You know, okay, what you said about Smollett, you know, look, people make mistakes, you know, blah, 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 blah. Everybody, we're better than that. We're bigger than that. Hopefully he'll learn. Let's move on. Is somebody else? I hope he dies a slow death. I hope his lungs eat like acid.
Oh, yeah, I saw some stuff that was so terrible. I was like, wow.
Remember, it's freedom of speech, not freedom of speech that you like. You know what I mean?
No, it is DT, but again, you reap what you sow, and I think that's just bad karma to wish bad health and bad tidings on people. I don't know. I kind of shake my head. I mean, you talk about even mean-spirited, like tonight, I'm a big Ruby Riott fan. So Ruby looks better than ever. Kev, you have bad taste. She's ugly. Look at that nose. You know how many people told me she was ugly and I have bad taste? I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, but that's just a stupid thing. That's what you get. So Ruby Riott, that's what you see in her. Not a great wrestler, girl horned the way up. She needs a nose job, and then she'll be, on your level.
That's their opinion.
Nonsense.
That's their opinion. I'm not defending them. Do I think Ruby Riott?
I would never say something about that. I would never say, like when I joke on Natty, I joke that she doesn't get a reaction. I don't joke on her physical appearance. When have you ever heard me cut her down on her looks? Ever? I make fun of the fact that his library silence when she comes out. That's not a personal insult.
But an insult is an insult. I mean, I do it too.
But I'd rather have someone said, Kev, like there's dead silence. Oh, you're the ugliest motherfucker in the world. I mean, there's a big difference in that. DT, come on.
Look, I think Ruby Riott is extremely attractive?
I think she's good looking girl. Man.
But I totally listen. There are some people that think my fiance is the ugliest thing around.
No, your fiance is good looking.
All right, I think she's beautiful. I mean, everybody out there. There's an old saying: "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder." All right,
that's true.
I think if somebody is not trying to be malicious and just does not see someone physically attractive, that so be it. It's when they.
But why do you got to say it? Why do you got to say it? Why do you got to say that?
The thing is that. If somebody's going to bring up somebody's looks and some people want to have a conversation, it can't just be, okay, I'm going to bring up this person's looks. All right, everybody that respond, you could only think that she's hot. Anybody that doesn't think she's hot, you have no right to respond. It's freedom of speech, not freedom of speech.
Yeah, but DT, you
can
say, not my taste, not my cup of tea, not the bitch should get a nose job. That's a nice thing to say?
Well, I wouldn't say it that way, but if somebody says, I think her nose is big or her ears are big, or
not for me. She's not for me, not my type. That's what you got to say.
Yeah, I think. Look, there's ways of doing it. I mean, there's classy ways, and then there's That's
like the guy the other day who called me a motherfucker. I was like, what does he have to say that about? I mean, again, it's just ridiculous to even have to say something like that.
I usually keep quiet. You know what I mean? Like, look. I've joked about Dana Brooke. She got some work done. She looks like she's sucking on lemons all the time. Sometimes she looks like a goldfish. But I don't mean that maliciously. I don't have any ill will against her. She's an obviously extremely attractive woman.
She's not hurting. These people aren't hurting for dates, DT. We know that.
Yeah, but there's people out there. I mean, like I said, with the stuff with Paige, man, there is some really miserable people out there. I mean, even the stuff towards Jim Ross. I have been trying to show nothing but love for Jim Ross the last bunch of weeks.
He's getting a lot
Jim
of
Ross
shit too.
obviously is not the Jim Ross of before, but people with so much maliciousness, just want to shoot this person down. If you don't like his work, all right, you express your opinion, move on. They want a reaction. They want to know that Jim Ross saw what they said, and they want everybody else to acknowledge it too. That's why I've been saying for years, and I know I've been saying this before anybody else, not the only person in the world, but social media is a disease. It's a disease, but something else. And I've been joking about this for years also. Jason Solomon's his Facebook page. Every time I see official thread pay-per-view, Raw thread, NWA Power thread, Royal Rumble thread, I laugh. I laugh because you could post that all you want. There are a ton of people on that page, and it's not just his page. It just so happens it's pretty much the only wrestling page that I go on. But there are tons of people there that can't post their Royal Rumble comment about a match on page 5 of the Royal Rumble thread. No, they have to start their own brand new thread because they need to stand out. They need to be in large print. They need to be seen. They need to be heard. It's not, let me just post like everybody else. So they post their own thread anyway. And then, someone will say, listen, put everything in this one thread, keep it nice and neat. And then still you have 20, 30, 40, 50 people that still have to start their own thread because their comment, it's not good enough to be on page 3 with your post. You have to stand out, and that is across social media. So, look, you have an opinion about Jim Ross, Ruby Riott, Page, Limbaugh, Trump, anybody. All right, you have every right to give your opinion. But unfortunately, all of us, you, me included, we're going to make opinions that maybe only 5 people want to pay attention to. You can't turn around when only 5 people pay attention and then rewrite it again in capital letters. And, hey, everybody, did you hear what I said? Jim, did you see what I wrote? Jim, you need to pack it up. And it's just because now you realize that giving your opinion is not enough. You need to feel that that person saw it and that person had sunk into them, because that emotional high that I made a difference. Jim knows now that John Jerkoff, thinks that he is just not good to be an announcer anymore. Now I could go home and sleep tonight. And that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
It is terrible. Whatever happened to just being a fan?
I did find it funny when Paige posted a photo. She posted 2 photos. She posted pictures of women in bikinis. And then she posted some chubby guy sitting on a couch holding a dog, and it says, in quotes, her nose is too big. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's never good enough. You always have to. That's why I always say 2020, one of my biggest New Year's resolutions was to post for every dig or knock or criticism that I put online, I post 10 positive things. We should always work on how to make things better, not try to get attention for the things that are worse. I criticize AEW, but I usually try to come up with solutions, opinions.
No, but you've been pretty fair to AEW. I've listened to your show on Wednesday. You've been pretty even keel across the boards. I mean, you give criticism, but I never really seen you do like a hatchet job on a company that you don't like. You've been pretty fair. I'll give you that credit. I mean, I've probably been much more biased towards AEW, and I got heat for it, but I put it on, like you said to me the other day, we make our beds and we line it. And I agreed with that statement that you said. We were talking about something else, but that holds for when you make comments. If you're going to try and be a heat magnet, even for a ha-ha, you're going to get the backlash for it. So I agree with you on that. If you make your bed, you got to line it.
Yeah. Now, since we mentioned AEW, I'm curious if you think WWE or AEW would be a better fit. Over the weekend, Shad Gaspard posted a photo on Twitter. It's a picture of him and JTG from 2007 and a photo from 2020. They haven't aged at all. They look phenomenal. And he said, and I quote, "We don't apologize for being consistent, staying focused, working hard, and uplifting each other. No addictions, no bitterness, no hatred for others' success. Our continued growth shows others that there is no top. You just keep getting better or stay where you're at." Now, my question is, because they still look like they can go and they're in phenomenal shape.
I think they look better now than they did in 2007. I'll be honest with you. I think they look better now.
Do you think a Crime Time reunion in the WWE is possible, or you think that they would be a better fit in AEW?
I think they'd get the initial pop to be back. They weren't here very long. I mean, JTG held on to his job for a really long time, like Val Venus long time. When he finally got released a few years back, Shad Gaspar had a quicker exit, obviously, because of other reasons. But I think that they could come. I mean, listen, I wouldn't mind seeing them, and it's nothing to do with nationalities or ethnicities. I wouldn't mind seeing them go up against, Street Profits, and let them do a little talking thing against each other. See, like, these guys are like the OG originals. Maybe even get on the Street Profits for maybe copying them a little bit to a degree. Not really the same gimmick, but they both can talk. And I think there would be an initial pop for them to be back in the WWE. And I think they probably really, if you really ask them, they probably want to come back home to the WWE where they had their success. I don't know about AEW. I don't know if they get over there. And plus, they have to get in line behind a lot of tag teams that would be ahead of them. I think WWE would be the place for them to come back. Resume the gimmick, resume their names that people know them by. They don't have to go through all that bullshit of name changes in AEW. And then people are like, oh, who's this again? WWE would be more familiar for them, and I think they would match up good with a lot of the new teams.
Shout out to Dave Anthony. Mm-hmm. Shout out to you, my friend. My problem with them coming back to WWE is, we were just talking about social media. They would have to totally change their character. Not necessarily the music or their look, but I could just picture social media up. Yeah. There's WWE with stereotypes. They can't get out of, black people, crime time. You know what I mean? It was fun when they were stealing. I forget whose merchandise it was. It wasn't Ashley Mazzaro. Who was the woman that they took like some of her belongings and they were selling it to fans at ringside for like $20?
It wasn't Ashley, wasn't it? One of the
I don't remember if it was Ashley Mazzaro. Maybe it was Lita.
Who was
Maybe it was Lita.
Maybe it was Lita. I think it was.
But see, I could see them doing funny things, but the problem is that if you even give an inkling that it's the same, the gimmick, like the crime gimmick like before, you're just going to you'll never please social media. And this, I guess, kind of ties into WWE now, with what's going on with the stock market. Right. And by the way, I would love to see Crime Time back in one of these promotions. I think they would be a better fit in WWE because their tag team division is just very lackluster. And AEW right now, it just feels like Young Bucks, Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz, and everybody else.
They got their guys. They got their teams locked down over there. Over here, can you imagine Crime Time versus Usos, Crime Time versus Street Profits versus Revival? There's a lot of interesting matchups there for Crime Time and WWE.
Yeah. Now with the WWE stock, on Friday, I must have got into it for about 45 minutes. No reason to do it here. Clips are on YouTube if you want to check it out. But later this week, the financial numbers are going to come out for 2019. And hopefully, if anybody out there that really wants some lessons about the WWE stock and income and OIBDA, definitely check out what I said, because I gave everybody a little bit of a lesson as far as, how they put up their numbers. I also pointed out a lot of things that nobody even realized online. And the first one was that George Barrios and Michelle Wilson were only co-presidents for 2 years. Wow. Only 2 years. I haven't brought this up, but I also welcome anybody that really wants to see something interesting. Go and look at Michelle Wilson and George Barrios' stock transactions for the WWE stock for the last 5 years. You'll be very, very surprised. I mean, how much stock that they received and how much stock that they sold. But, the one thing is, the stock is on a big decline right now. I did point out that the price right now is very close to what it was in October. A lot of people forgot about October. October, there was some really disturbing numbers. And the funny thing is, I put the tweet up on Friday. I wrote this in October. The next time that you really have to be concerned about WWE is their next quarter, which happens this week. And the thing is, you look at the WWE Network numbers, the network revenue, not bad at all. The live attendance, been going down. Ticket prices, been going up. Live revenue, going down. Their DVDs, Kev, when was the last time you bought a WWE DVD documentary?
I can't even tell you. I think the last, didn't buy it, but I think you gave me a couple of years ago the Paul Heyman one and Randy Savage, I think it was. That was the last time I got. Oh, I'm sorry. I got, that's not true. I got in 2015, I got the Ultimate Warrior's latest one. After he passed away a year later, they made that whole thing with him. So Ultimate Warrior one I did purchase, the Ultimate Warrior.
One thing that I have pointed out for quite some time now, and apparently this is something that Michelle Wilson pushed more than anybody, was this free month. And, the idea was, if you sign up now, you get WrestleMania for free and this for free. And the idea is that you draw them in for the month. They like it. Maybe they'll stick around. And the problem is that when you keep giving things for free and you keep, offering everything for free, you lower the value of what it seems to be worth. If fans really are clamoring, like, I'll give you a good example, NWA Power. And I watched their last pay-per-view, and Mission, I did a recap. You know, I looked around to try to find illegal streams. I don't want to pay for it. You know, I don't want to pay for anything. You know, I usually pay for stuff, but because I have to. And the thing is that I found no other way to watch it other than Fight TV. So I ended up buying it. I got a subscription. Then the last pay-per-view, I bought it early, got $10 off or whatever it was. But the idea is that, you know, if people want to see WrestleMania that bad, if they can't find an illegal stream, let them sign up and pay $9.99. You know, the idea that, oh, you sign up, you get a free month. Oh, you get 2 free pay-per-views this month. So there's a lot of lost revenue there. And they have focused, to me, in my opinion, too much on the WWE Network, and they have focused too much on being a PSA company instead of an entertainment company. Like, everything's got to satisfy every group out there. You know, they have to, everything's got to be a public service announcement, whether this person's short or this person's Indian or this person's black or this person's this or this person's that. It's like you're an entertainment company. Unfortunately, entertainment companies sometimes will offend people. I was watching yesterday, don't ask me why, but we had Philo TV on, and Three's Company came on. Three's Company I grew up with. I watched it. And the episode last night happened to be the first one. Do you remember the first episode where they found Jack Tripper in the tub?
Oh, yeah,
unconscious
episode, 1977. Mm-hmm.
Then it ends up because he's a great cook, and all of a sudden 2 women think he's such an awesome guy he could live with them in a matter of 15 minutes. Mr. Roper would have nothing to do with a man living with 2 women. So at the very end of the show, Mr. Roper says, oh, everything's okay. It's all right. You could stay. What was the stipulation that Janet told Mr. Roper, which convinced him that Jack could stay and live with the 2 girls?
That Jack was a homosexual.
He was gay. You imagine doing that now in 2020.
Oh, no. I mean, I know that discrimination lawsuits up the ass. You couldn't be able to do that. No
protests, you know.
Yeah, I mean, forget about it. But that was really, and probably some younger people listening to the show now in their 20s and 30s maybe have heard or seen the episode here and there, but not really watched it. But stuff you would see then would blow your mind today. To even get in a building or even get to stay over someone's house, certain landlords would have stipulations. I mean, yeah, it was like that back in the day. It's nothing to be proud of, but you know, we have come a long way, baby, so to speak. But yeah, that was the whole gimmick, and that show ran for what, 10 years, DT, and was one of the top 10 shows. Top 10 sitcoms.
I think it went longer than that. I think it went from 80 to
77 to 85, right?
77 to 84. No, it wasn't 10 years. It was 77 to around 80.
84, and then they did Three's a Crowd for that 1 year with
Three's
Jack.
a Crowd.
Yeah.
But the point is, you know, WWE is an entertainment company.
Right.
And unfortunately, you can't focus on pleasing every single person in the world. You're going to ruffle feathers somewhere. You see the Liv Morgan, Lana thing? I mean, I brought this up from the beginning. I never looked at it as a lesbian angle. I looked at it more like Mickie James and Trish Stratus. Mickie James wasn't playing a lesbian or bisexual or gay in that storyline. She was just obsessed with Trish Stratus.
Yeah.
But the thing is, immediately go back to the night of that wedding storyline. I mean, the social media was in an uproar that WWE is not only doing this primitive crap, but then the second thing is they can't even let Sonya Deville do it. Like Sonya Deville would fit that personality. You understand? You know what I mean? So WWE's put themselves in a big hole because there's only so many times you could get people to sign up for free, and then they don't want to go on there anymore. Now you got AEW and all these other places, and I brought this up on the Wednesday show, that all these other places, MLW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, AEW, and others, it's not a wrestling boom, but they're trying to get you to give them money before anyone else.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And now what the cause of it is, you take away the Fox TV deal, you take away Saudi Arabia, and WWE's numbers have been declining substantially. And you can't keep having the McMahons come on every year and saying, we're listening to you. We're going to give you what we want, what you want. We're taking notice and we hear you and we're listening. And meanwhile, they forget that they're an entertainment company and everything's got to be appeal. Look at Ricochet. The guy is a nice guy. He's talented. But, I watched this promo tonight, and it was the Kofi Kingston 2019 promo that maybe somebody like me you would never see getting a heavyweight title shot. I mean, my God, in storyline, you should be like, no, I'm talented. I earned my shot. I earned my right. I'm good. I deserve that spot. Not somebody like me, you would never see it. Stop trying to portray that WWE fans are so primitive still that they could never envision Ricochet being WWE. It's not Ricochet's fault. This is WWE telling him what to say. But they don't even understand by Ricochet saying what he's saying tonight, they're criticizing us. Because him saying, I know I'm not the typical person based on who's thinking that? If you're assuming that you still would not, look at Mustafa Ali.
Right.
He wasn't in the Royal Rumble.
Nope.
All right. That happens every year. Some people don't get in the Royal Rumble. That wasn't good enough. He posts online a statement that WWE says there's no room for you. Now, when Mustafa Ali, for 75% of the time when he posts online, always has to bring up his background, his background, from India, wherever he's from. I don't pay attention to his nationality. He's a talented guy. That's it. But he has to keep bringing it up. And I understand he wants to inspire people. He wants to show that everybody gets an equal shot. But the minute it doesn't go his way, he's got to throw that little dig out there like, there's no room for somebody like me. You know what I mean? So they keep setting this back, and they don't even realize it.
Well, what he doesn't want to say is there's no room for what he is in character right now and what his abilities are. I mean, it has nothing to do with nationality or ethnicity. It has to do with tried to get him over. He really didn't get over. He's a great wrestler, but he wasn't really getting the reaction. I mean, sometimes – again, DT, I mean, you agree, disagree on a lot of things you say. You kind of make your own bed, or you got to look in the mirror and, say, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. He's not really, the crowd wasn't really reacting to him that well. They gave him a lot of pushes, and I think they had to take a step back with him. There's other guys on the roster. They brought in now John Morrison's back, Edge is back. There's other people back now who are more proven commodities, especially like John Morrison. I'm going to push Morrison more than I'm going to push Ali. I'm sorry. Morrison's more known. He's more reliable. He's more of a name value when you put him on the card. I'm not saying Morrison stole his spot, but in a way he kind of did, because that's Ali disappeared from the card. So there might not be room in at the hotel right now for him, so to speak. So he might be in dark matches or whatever. So he's got to do something to get himself back in the good graces. I think it has nothing to do with ethnicity, though. I think he just wasn't really getting over. I mean, come on, I haven't seen anybody out there on YouTube already. Anybody own an Ali shirt? Anybody rocking an Ali shirt right now? Come on. So again, it might be him and nothing to do with what his background is, but him as a person, as a guy. Not that he's not a good talent. He's a great talent. But maybe they got nothing for him right now. There's been greater men than Ali who have sat on the sidelines, DT, in sports. You know that.
I think WWE's problem also is insisting that their product is a melting pot. I don't mean black and white, but I've said this before. Nothing personal against the Iconics, but if they were not from Australia and they were from Ohio, you think they'd be in the WWE roster right now?
No, I was surprised they got the run that they got. I think that bullshit tagline against WWE that they do this and they're anti this and that, they give a lot of people a shot. You shake your head at some of the people that they've given a shot to, who have been from other, even now Drew McIntyre, first guy of English, Scottish descent, who might go on to be the world champion, and most likely he will. I mean, they're breaking down those barriers in every which way, from women to people from across the nation, across the world. What else are they supposed to do? I mean, I'll attack that company as much as anyone when they deserve it. But I think they get kind of an unfair shake sometimes just because someone's favorite isn't getting a push. I felt that way too. I got my favorite wrestlers too who don't get pushed sometimes, and they go down to the. Some of my favorite wrestlers of all time were never any big names. They were middle of the road journeymen. It kind of depends. Not everybody could be a big star. Why does Ali have to be the champion? Listen, even Kofi, he deserved it. Okay, there's a lot of people in that locker room who deserve a lot of stuff. What does Dolph Ziggler deserve? What does Bobby Roode deserve? Again, it's timing, DT. It's how the crowd's reacting to you. It's in the back, people getting behind you, having that friend in the back who's in high places who believes in you. And that's what's going on with Drew McIntyre right now. A year ago, if we would have told you Drew McIntyre, number one babyface or going to be the top babyface in the company, you'd be like, nah, this brooding Scotsman.
We did that last year with Kofi.
Yeah, exactly. So you never know. It could be Ali's time maybe next year, but right now they got nothing for him. That doesn't mean WWE is racist out figures. They can't find anything for this guy. Look, they're going to put. I'm sure Mansoor is going to be over big time in his home country, right? In Saudi, I'm sure he's on the card, and I'm sure he'll get a big win. But here, he can't really do much. Not everybody even knows in NXT who he is. So it depends on the build-up. It depends on the star power. It's business. It's definitely not personal. It's business.
I understand you want to be diverse, and WWE is a global product. So, yeah, they should be diverse. But you can't insist that you have every country represented just to have them represented. At the end of the day, this is an entertainment company. And unfortunately, if you can't get any really talented wrestlers from Croatia, I'm just using a random example, you can't force that narrative, because then, like I said, you want to feel that people are being pushed because they entertain you. Not because they're black or white or gay or Indian or Italian or Latino, or small or tall. You just want someone pushed further because they entertain you. The people that entertain you are the ones that remain on TV. That's why I always say, I could understand, I couldn't relate, obviously. I can understand why somebody who is labeled a minority, considered a minority, may feel they're not getting the same opportunity as others. But when you do get that opportunity, you have to, especially because you feel like you're an underdog, you got to grab it by the horns. You got to really go over and beyond. And if that doesn't work, it's not because of where you came from or what you look like. What is it? It's just that you're just not as entertaining. You may have been able to do it for a 200-seat promotion, but as far as the WWE Universe goes, there's too many people above him that stand out and shine.
Exactly.
So, speaking of people back and wanting to see them, the Edge storyline, it's obviously going to be milked for a couple of weeks. Sure. Randy Orton came out earlier today. Actually, before I even bring up Randy Orton, Matt Hardy talked about Edge's return and talking about using people. You could even add old or older in that group, because a lot of people are frustrated. Look how they use Mickie James for the last couple of years. A lot of people feel that the only reason why Mickie James wasn't used more is because she is older. That's it, older.
No.
And Matt Hardy came back with a response after Edge returned. He said something interesting.
So.
He says, and I quote, "Edge coming back was a big deal. I know he's an older guy. Something I've seen recently online, probably on wrestling Twitter more than anything else. The question of, should old guys beat young guys? Or should the young guys, the young talent, always beat the older talent or the veterans?" It's like a big debate that's going on right now, and it comes down to this. Age is really irrelevant. If you could still go in the ring, if you're still entertaining, and you're still good, and you have a lot to contribute to the show on a full-time basis, age is irrelevant. Talent is what's relevant. If you're talented, you should be utilized to the best of your ability. Now, obviously, he was throwing little messages to WWE like, age should not be a factor, but you could put age in there as well. Somebody comes back a little bit older, and they may not be, as good as they were 10, 15 years ago, but they're still a hell of a lot better than a lot of young people out there. And you don't want to feel like somebody's purposely not being used because they're older. Because you feel that way with Matt Hardy. You feel that way with Mickey James. You feel that way with a few people.
Well, DT, sometimes, and we've talked about this on past shows many a time. When is the time to step aside and let someone else get their turn? And, like in any sport, you kind of know when your time is done. And you can still remain in the sport, become a teacher, trainer, agent, writer, director, producer. There's other things for you to do. That's the cause and effect of wrestling. You're here and then you're there. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to go. It goes on in baseball. Famous baseball players go on to be announcers or coach, first base coach, bullpen coach. Wrestlers can do the same thing too. You don't always got to be in the ring. And there's wrestlers, I think it's 50-50. I've seen wrestlers in shoot interviews who shake their head and say, fucking Hogan and Flair still going in the ring like this. Ridiculous. I mean, it's enough already. Your legacy is set. Your foundation is there. Stop. And that's a lot. And then the other guy's like, no, if you can still go, still draw money, go in there. So it's very select. I think it's down the middle. I think it's down the middle with fans too. Like, who's the Ring of Honor champion? What's his name? PCO? Is he still champion? PCO. Ring of Honor? Okay. He wasn't worth shit in WWE back in the day. You know that. He was Quebecer, whatever, mid-card guy. Johnny Polo managed him. Then he was Cannonball Chris or whatever, and then they tried him with another gimmick. Jean-Pierre Lafitte lasted about a year and a half. Then he was on the Indies and came back. It's a great story, but it's very rare. Chris Jericho is a rarity, a gem in this business at his age, what he's doing right now, nearly 50. Not everybody can do it. So, if you get that rare gem, like honestly, DT, would you want to see Dallas Page in the ring at 62 at this point?
As long as he's in I enjoyed it. As long as he's in a 6-man tag and he's not doing too much, right? Fine. I mean, but here's the thing: if you're going to criticize DDP, then you got to
criticize him. I'm saying he's 62,
right? But you also got to criticize. Why not criticize NWA Power for putting the title belts, on the Rock and Roll Express?
Yeah, that was a little much too. And I like the Rock and Roll Express. God bless them. But yeah, I mean, I think the belts are off them now, by the way. I think they lost the titles. But yeah, I get they're in a try. That's that whole niche of that promotion. I think that's why they're one of the smaller ones. In the bigger leagues,
you got to know your audience.
Champs, Yeah, you got to know your audience. And again, you got to kind of know when your time is up. Like, look at Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson said in a shoot interview recently, "You've seen my last probably spine buster. I can't do that. It jolts my whole body. I'm an older man. I'm 60. I can't do that anymore." Because people are like, when's the next time you're going to come in and give a spine buster? He's like, maybe never. I don't want to hurt myself. I can't do it anymore. So again, you got to kind of know your limits. You got to know your limits. Jericho, PCO, guys like that, Terry Funk back in the day, rarities. If you can still do it, great, but you got to be careful and you got to take into consideration if you get hurt at a certain age, it could be a much more severe injury, and it could really put you in a wheelchair.
Look at MVP. We had that conversation last week that, it was nice to see him back on Raw, but we felt, I had that D'Lo Brown moment when I saw him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right away, people were reporting that he re-signed with WWE. He quickly ripped them apart and said, no, this was my one and only match on Raw. I came back to wrestle my friend so my son could see me in the WWE ring once.
Yeah, he said he's done. Yeah, he said he's done.
Yeah. But he wants, I think, to be a producer, which I think would be a great idea.
Yeah, like look at Dave Bautista, who came back last year, and he made some mistakes. He tripped going into the ring. He was a little stumble bummed a little bit. As much as he's in movies and he's in action movies, does some of his own stunts, he looked like 2 left feet in that ring last year. Triple H carried him. And he's like, I'm done. I'm done. I am done. I'm 50. I'm the same age as Jericho. You're on it, but I'm done. He can go. I can't. I'm a movie star. I'm in movies now. I'm not a wrestler anymore. Again, know when you're done, and that's it. And there's no shame in that. And these are all Hall of Famers that we're talking about. Unfortunately, PCO will never be a Hall of Famer. He didn't have that kind of career. But a Ring of Honor champion at his age, not too shabby. But it's so rare, DT. I mean, like I said, you can count them on one hand. The guys near 50 or over that are still going strong. Tommy Dreamer, I guess, is up in that. Is Tommy Dreamer 50 yet? He's probably up there.
He's been wrestling. He's been wrestling now for about 30 years.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And Rob Van Dam to a degree as well too. Rob looks kind of like, but again, they all look older. You can't, age is going to catch up with you sooner or later. But again, if you could still go and the company believes in you, But then again, you got to plan for the future. You got to have, as much as we all love, we love Mike Piazza. I if they announced he was coming back to catch behind the plate, I'd be like, you got to be kidding me. Manage, that's it. Yes, manager, hire him, get him. But play, he can still go. I don't know if I want to see that. Again,
Tommy Dreamer, by the way, is 48. It's gonna actually he'll be 49 on the 13th.
Oh, okay, yeah, everyone's telling me it's going to be 49. Yeah, again, rarities, man. These guys are all rarities, and you wish them well. And again, you're right. It's your call to decide what you're going to do when you get out. But you got to be smart enough to know when your time's up. And again, Jericho's champion for now is great, but eventually they got to get that belt off him. And who's the heir to that throne? Who's the guy who's going to take this company to that? Is it MJF? Is it someone else? Do they put it on another guy like Kenny Omega? Just again, you really don't know. But I don't think you could hitch your wagon to too much of an older guy at this point in wrestling. It's just not a smart business move.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of AEW, I don't know if you heard about this, but to try to induce some extra tickets when they go through Alabama, they're gonna do a little tribute to Continental Wrestling.
Oh, I loved Continental. I used to trade
but
tapes.
The only two names that they mentioned was Austin Idol and Missy Hyatt.
Yeah, I saw that. I was one of my favorites, another obscure wrestler. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him, Wildcat Wendell Coley, who was tag team partner with Al Perez back in the day. And Wendell Coley was the man over there. He was like the Magnum TA of Continental back in there. I was a big fan. My brother Draper was a big fan of his too. And he's, like I said, rarity wrestler. Probably got to go Google him and look him up. And even Missy Hyatt said in a tweet that she wrote that no, it's not because Wendell Coley and Lord Humongous didn't pick up their phone, because she even mentioned two big names, I guess, who won't be involved. Wendell Coley, I don't know where he is these days, and Lord Humongous, who, by the way, wasn't Sid. Sid Vicious was one of Lord Humongous, but there was another guy who played the Lord Humongous role, who's a state trooper now, an older guy who just retired from the police department. I can't remember his name. But, it seems that the only announcements for Continental are Austin Idol, who was on already as part of that Memphis thing a couple weeks ago, and Missy Hyatt. They couldn't get anybody else from Continental. There was a whole bunch of people. Shane Douglas was in Continental. They should have got Shane in there. Did you know Shane Douglas was a big deal in Continental DT before he went to ECW?
Yeah. I think, look, they want to try to get some extra ticket sales. It is what it is, but to hype it up with just that short notice, it just comes off a little bit like they really want to tribute. They just want to get a couple extra asses in the seats.
Yeah, and well, DT, don't you think? I mean, me and you know a lot about Missy Hyatt. I mean, she never really is going to get her due. So I guess that's kind of cool for her. I mean, she was more known, obviously, for the NWA.
She'll be in the WWE Hall of Fame
class. No, she will be, I think, eventually. But I'm saying, but she doesn't get mentioned much these days. So I'm wondering how many AEW fans will know her. That's pretty big blast from the past there, from quite a while back. And Austin Idol is known already because he was the manager for the longest time of Nick Aldis. So he's already known in that area. But Missy Hyatt's going to be interesting to see if they even give her any talk time on the mic. It's going to be interesting.
They'll probably do like a little thing before the air, like they did with most of the legends they did recently when they brought back Lanny Poffo and others. So,
hey, back in my day, mine and your day, DT, Missy Hyatt was a poster on the wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before we go, you know about the situation with Ryback and his trademark?
Yeah, I saw about that. You want to talk about it?
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, for people I don't know.
I pulled up the tweet. Yeah, I know. I pulled up. Well, you want to give the story of what he said?
Well, Ryback was using the name Ryback back in, I think, Ohio Valley Wrestling. I actually took this from somebody's website. I don't have it in front of me. I got to give them credit for it. I don't really have it. But if you go on the wiki site, it actually gets into it in detail. And WWE had ended their relationship with Ohio Valley Wrestling in February 2008. And Ryback had returned to OVW under the name Ryback and won the OVW Heavyweight Championship in October of 2008. So Ryback was already using the name Ryback before WWE re-signed him towards the end of 2008. So now, to make a long story short, he legally changed his name to, I think, Ryback Ryan Reeves or something like that. Right. And WWE keeps renewing the trademark. All right. So Ryback right now could use the name Ryback on YouTube, on other things. The problem is that WWE renewed the trademark of Ryback. And if you look at the trademark website, it's for wrestling performance. Bottom line is this. It appears to me, because remember, I own the trademark for ECW.
That's
and
right.
Todd Gordon, and this is actually maybe not a bad comparison. When ECW, when WWE was going to do their one-night stand, they were going to do Hardcore Homecoming. And I was originally involved with Hardcore and Homecoming with the Bus Trips and others. And WWE sent me the cease and desist letter. Stop using ECW on my website. I know some of you already know the story. I'm sorry for repeating it. I'm just giving a very short story of it. So anyway, I wanted to be able to publicize that it's ECW because it's an ECW reunion. They were going, the same weekend as the One Night Stand. So anyway, long story short, I started doing some research on the trademark website, and I noticed that the original ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling, that was abandoned. Todd Gordon abandoned it. WWE never picked it up. So what I did was I bought the trademark. And what I did was I put down that I was going to use ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling. And by me doing it that way, I could use the letters ECW on my website. I could push the Bus Trips for Hardcore Homecoming and, not get in trouble for it. And I don't remember her name. I still got the legal letter somewhere, but I remember emailing the woman that was the lawyer for WWE. She was some Greek chick. And she wrote back to me and she says, good job. She says, you could do it. So that's what I did until Mike Johnson, that jerk, just pissed me off. And I ended up not doing the Bus Trips. He's just a troll, a selfish little troll. So anyway, my point is this. When I bought the trademark for Eastern Championship Wrestling, ECW, Todd Gordon, that jerk off, he, instead of thanking me saying, oh, we could use those letters for Hardcore Homecoming, he threatened to sue me.
Yeah.
He said to me that you have no right owning that, and if you don't abandon it, I'm going to get my lawyer, and we're going to sue you and this and that. And I ended up was like, you know what? All these jerk-offs, all I'm trying to do is make it better and easier for everybody that they could use the letters. And all these people it's like, you can't do something good. So I was like, fuck you. I ended up abandoning it, whatever. WWE did not abandon the Ryback trademark, even though there's no longer a Ryback in WWE. So Ryback he can use his name for everything. This is what it appears. Everything but wrestling events. He cannot wrestle other places under the name Ryback. He might be able to use the big guy. He might be able to kind of change the wording around a little bit. I always thought if he just removed the C, like Taz, when he took, they took the WWE had the extra Z. I always thought that Ryback should just take the C off and maybe use that. But the thing is this, Ryback was trying to trademark the name so he could use it to wrestle elsewhere. Maybe AEW does want him. Maybe another Fed wants him. Right. And WWE renewed the trademark recently. So because of that, Ryback cannot trademark it for wrestling matches, wrestling events. He could use it for YouTube. He could use it for other things. But when it comes to wrestling matches, WWE owns that. So he went public and he's saying, look, WWE, you're almost making me have to spend $200,000 on lawyers and this and that just so I can use this name in matches. Just forget about me. Forget my history, because he's not there anymore.
Right.
So that's what's going on right now. And of course you got the jerk-offs online because Ryback has said some stuff in the past. They're like, you don't deserve nothing. You don't do this. You don't do that. Meanwhile, I have no idea how great and entertaining his YouTube stuff and the other things going on. But
I watch it all the time.
Yeah. But here's my opinion on it. I personally think that since WWE just renewed the trademark for like another 6 years or whatever it is, I don't know the term. I know they did a Section 8 and other things, but here's my opinion on it. WWE renewed the trademark, and if you look at the explanation of the trademark, it's pretty much wrestling matches and other things that are WWE. If I was Ryback, I would go on the next indie wrestling show and let them announce you as Ryback. Let them advertise you as Ryback. And see if WWE tries to send a cease and desist. Because in my opinion, WWE's trademark should just have to do with WWE matches. If Ryback, there is no confusion. Because if Ryback shows up in AEW right now, if he shows up in MLW, if he shows up in New Japan, if he shows up anywhere, there ain't going to be one WWE fan that's going to be confused right now and say, wait a minute, doesn't Ryback wrestle for WWE? There is no Ryback in WWE right now. That's so right. I think use the name for a promotion and see if WWE tries to sue. You know, that's what I would do. I wouldn't sign a long-term contract with somebody, but I would work a couple of indie shows and just let them advertise it as Ryback and see if WWE forces their hand and says you cannot use that name on the indie circuit. I have a feeling, I mean, I don't know, I'm just giving a hunch. I have a feeling WWE wouldn't do anything because there is no confusion. The U.S. Trademark Company or organization, whatever it is, they should have something in there that, sure, WWE could trademark the term Ryback, but it's just for WWE matches, WWE merchandise, WWE home video.
Right.
I just think outside of WWE, that trademark should not apply.
Oh, you're right.
What do you think?
I think it is petty. I mean, I kind of sympathize with Ryback to a degree. And listen, they learned, you know, the guy who kicked this whole thing off with trademarking and stuff was our old friend Ultimate Warrior back in the day. And Ultimate Warrior went to court so many times with them over that. And then he changed his name to Warrior. A lot of people think to spite them, but Warrior said he did it because he wanted to. It wasn't really against WWE, but he really believed in that way of that lifestyle, that Warrior character. And I think, you know, that set the precedent for WWE to pursue it like so, you know, aggressively. But I didn't, you know, but Ryback, no offense to Ryback, he's not on the level of an Ultimate Warrior. It wasn't that kind of star power. So I don't know. And I think, again, it's a popularity contest, DT. I think they don't like Mr. Ryan Reeves. They don't like Ryback, like they don't like CM Punk. Some people in the back, whether it's Triple H or Stephanie or Vince. And they're like, you know, kind of, to be quite candid, F this guy. I'm sure that's what they are behind the scenes. I'm saying that's what I think they think. You know, if they like you, they will work with you. And then, you know, Triple H eventually always rebuilds those bridges that were burned with Warrior, Bruno, Macho, all those guys. Will it be with Ryback down the road? Who knows? You know, Ryback's young enough where in a couple of years he could still come back. But this kind of stuff right now, it is very petty. And it's true. They're trying to, I don't know whether they're trying to break him, DT. Would it cost $200K, by the way, DT? Is that a overestimated figure?
It's not that it costs $200K to fight it. It's just lawyers, if you figure out how much they charge an hour and the process, it adds up into, you know, $100K plus easy. So it's really the length of time in court and the fighting and I mean, it's not, look, when I trademarked ECW, I did it on my own. I didn't even need a lawyer.
It didn't cost you very much, did it? I mean, you don't have to reveal how much, but it didn't cost you very much, did it?
I don't mind saying it. I think it cost me probably, I'm taking a guess because I really don't remember clearly. I'd say somewhere between $600 and $700.
Oh, that's not bad.
You know, I personally think that if Ryback, even if it's AEW, I think if Ryback showed up in AEW under the name Ryback, I don't think WWE would really have a case in court. Sure, Ryback would obviously have to hire a lawyer and he's got to pay that lawyer. But the thing is that Ryback was using the name Ryback before WWE signed him.
And so he could show evidence of that. Why wouldn't that mean something in court? And why wouldn't he?
No, it does. It does mean something in court. The problem is, to get to that point, you have to hire a lawyer. And that lawyer, look, when you get into a car accident, because I do insurance for a living.
Sure.
You get into a car accident, you're going to sue someone. A lawyer will do a deal where they won't take any money from you, but if they win your case, they get 33%, 35%, or whatever the case is. But this is a case where you're suing someone else to get money. If you have to hire that same lawyer because I'm getting sued, I guarantee you that lawyer is not going to say to me, okay, I'll do it for free, because I'm not trying to gain any money from the other party. I'm the defendant, not the plaintiff. So if Ryback gets taken to court from the WWE. Now Ryback is the defendant. Ryback is not the plaintiff. If Ryback is the plaintiff, he's got to hire a lawyer, go through the whole process. Personally, I think Ryback should use it. If WWE tries to do a cease and desist and he's forced to get a lawyer, I seriously believe it. I think if he sets up a GoFundMe and people are pissed off that WWE, because there is no confusion. If he's wrestling as Ryback, even on indie events, then there is no Ryback in WWE for there to be confusion. I think Ryback, if he's going to wrestle indie shows, he should immediately start going under the name Ryback and see what happens. The worst thing that can happen, if WWE, some Joe Blow, Joe's Wrestling and Ribs in Texas advertises Ryback, if WWE sends a cease and desist to that promotion saying stop using the name Ryback, number one, the whole internet will find out about it. And number two, all that promotion's got to do is make an amendment, change it. The banner, just change the name. Or previously known as Ryback. Put Ryan Reeves above it, in parentheses, Ryback. They're not. It's not that a promoter puts the name Ryback on there and then WWE immediately wins a lawsuit. Give me money. WWE will tell them you can't do that. Stop using the name immediately. That's what happened with me when I used ECW. I didn't lose any lawsuit case. They give you a chance to change it. Right. So I think Ryback should test that. And if he keeps working indie events, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, and WWE doesn't challenge any of them, he signs somewhere else, and WWE all of a sudden starts challenging it. You have you started building up a paper trail where you could say, look, WWE didn't contest it here, 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 here. But now all of a sudden they are. And then you see, but again, that's the situation that he's in. Why mortgage your house? You know what I mean? That's why I think WWE, if there's any way they can amend the trademark that it's only World Wrestling Entertainment merchandise and matches and this and that, and not just pro wrestling, period, I think that's a nice compromise. WWE, they do something in the future where Ryback's featured on a pay-per-view or something like that. Maybe they sign an agreement where Ryback gives up all future royalties to the WWE, and in return, he could use the Ryback name outside of World Wrestling Entertainment.
That's true. There's always a compromise.
I think that's a wonderful compromise.
That's a good idea. I like it.
No more royalties for Ryan Reeves, and in return, you can use that name outside of WWE.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So, well, we'll see. Hopefully, there's some good conclusion to that. So, anything else you want to get into before we go?
No. We had a good show tonight. Went longer than we thought we'd go. Yeah.
Tomorrow on Patreon is your Castle Chronicles solo show.
Yes, sign
Wednesday,
up, please, people.
Will be the return of Wednesday Night Dynamite. Again, Breakfast Soup will air this weekend. We're not sure if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday, but it looks like we're going to rotate every other week. For every other Friday night, I'll be online, or I'll do a blah, 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 strictly for Patreon. And the other weeks, it'll be Mission Eye Breakfast Soup. But we'll definitely contact everybody on Patreon to give you the whole schedule and everything. So
cool.
All right, Kev. I will talk to you tomorrow night.
Yes. Thank you, everybody on YouTube, Discord. Everybody have a great evening, and catch Patrons tomorrow on Castle Chronicles.
Sound good.
Peace.
Take it easy.
Thanks, man.
All right. With the exception of no intro music tonight, we actually went through the entire show with no video issues, no audio screw-ups on my end. Pretty good, Like I said to everybody out there, especially on YouTube, give me about 2 months to get used to doing this with the format and everything else, and I think we'll get, in the right place. And once we get past that hurdle, that's when you're going to see a lot of additional content added to YouTube. There's going to be shows on the horizon that have nothing to do with wrestling. There's going to be some special episodes. Andre Corbeil is already invited to have some fun discussion. Joey Numbers and I are going to be debating up a storm. You have no idea what's in store. In fact, I tell you, I don't like to pit podcasters against other podcasters, but I got more interest in Joey Numbers and me grabbing each other's throats, doing an episode together, than anything else, I think, in recent memory. Even my solo work. It's amazing to create. Some of you out there want, a special episode with Jason Solomonster and myself. I will talk to Jason about that, but there's so much coming up. Like I said, just give me about 2 months to get used to this YouTube, because there's so many things that I still have to, get acclimated to. But I want to thank you always for the support. Much appreciated. This Wednesday, 10:15 p.m. Eastern will be the return of Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite. I think we're already up to episode 20. And same streaming links as you have now. I'll always post a preview. And I tell you one thing that really, really sucks. If you remember, I used to do DTKC Show at 11 p.m. sharp, and Wednesday Night Dynamite would be 10 p.m. sharp. So I said, okay, now with YouTube, there's a lot more work involved. And because WWE is doing overruns again, we'll start Mondays at 11:15. And because NXT always ends around 10:07, we'll start Wednesday Night Dynamite at 10:15 instead of 10. What happens? Ms. and Mrs. goes on the USA Network Wednesdays, and now the network says, we really don't want you to have an overrun on Wednesday. So now the show goes off the air at 10, and I have it advertised for 10:15. So that 15 minutes of prep, waiting to do the show. And even on Monday now, they're trying to keep the overrun at a minimum. So, until further notice, we're still going to keep the 11:15 start time on Monday, 10:15 start time on Wednesday, and the 10:15 start time when I do shows on Friday. The last 2 Fridays, we did episodes of the Don Tony Show, which is available for everybody watching and listening on YouTube. And I tell you, if popular demand requests it, then I will return again this Friday with another episode of the Don Tony Show. One thing I definitely need to do in the next couple of weeks is we really got to start tightening up the shows a little bit. They have to end sooner. I would rather do more shows a week and then be shorter than to do less shows and then be longer. Like I use the example. If I did, let's say, 8 hours of content a week, I'd rather do 5 90-minute shows than do 3 2.5-hour shows. We break it up a little bit more. That's why Wednesday Night Dynamite is so much fun. It's everything except Raw and Smackdown. And you hear it, my coverage is very, very broad. So, but anyway, I'm starting to ramble, so I am out of here. Everyone, if you like what I'm doing here, especially on YouTube, please spread the word. Let everybody know that after 22 years, I am on video now, and that is a permanent thing. And it's only going to get better, everybody. It's only going to get better. But you all be well. I will catch you all again this Wednesday with Wednesday Night Dynamite. Take care. Ciao.
Don-O-Mite.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, he's an alcoholic and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don-O-Mite, you can have fun. You really are.